Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Kohly, and I'm a member of Hilton Christian Fellowship. Back in 2018, Di and I were leading a church in Newcastle, and I was diagnosed with cancer for the second time. It was 9 years after I'd recovered from my first cancer treatment, and suddenly the cancer came again. The cancer was very well developed by the time the doctors discovered it, and they gave me little chance of survival. In fact, they said that I had 3 to 6 months to live, but they'd give it their best shot anyway. So I was in hospital for treatment, and I was lying in bed on my first night. And of course, like anybody who's got a death sentence, I was wrestling this issue with Jesus. And suddenly there was this manifestation next to me, and I realized that Jesus was standing right next to me in my hospital bed in the room. And he began to talk to me. He began by unpacking the incident that is recorded in all the Gospels, but specifically it felt like he was quoting from Mark chapters 4 and 5. And you'll remember the incident where he said to the disciples, "Let's get in the boat and go to the other side." And that was the story he began to unpack for me. And so he said to me, "Richard, you and I are going for a boat ride. It's going to be stormy like it was for the disciples. They panicked, but I don't want you to panic. In fact, the storms are going to come, and I'm going to teach you a whole lot of things." He went on to say that as the disciples found him sleeping, I will at times think he is sleeping, but he reassured me he is not sleeping in the boat. He is like his Father now. He neither sleeps nor slumbers. In fact, what he wanted me to understand is that I should learn to take and exercise my own spiritual authority. Most of us, when we go through storms, the storms happen in our heads and in our minds. And that's where we need to calm the storms and quiet them. And that's what Jesus wanted me to learn. He also carried on to tell me that he is the great strategist. Nothing happens to us randomly. It's not all a big mistake, but there's always a purpose for what we go through. The disciples had no idea why they were crossing the lake with Jesus, but Jesus knew. You see, there was a demoniac on the other side, and Jesus had an appointment with this man. He was going to set him free from all those 2,000 demons, and he was going to use him for his glory. Because in fact, what happened, if you read the account, is that Jesus sent the man back to the Decapolis to tell everybody what great things God had done for him. Now, the Decapolis was a Gentile area, and it was called the Decapolis because it was an area of 10 cities. And so this man did exactly that. And so what Jesus was teaching me was just to trust in him. The journey was rough. Twice I nearly died, but I never gave up because I knew that Jesus was with me. In fact, both Di and I never doubted for one moment that I would die because Jesus had said that I would live. So here I am, 5 years later, still serving the Lord and fulfilling his purposes. And there are 3 important takeaways that I've learned from this lesson and which I'd like to leave with you. Number 1, Jesus is always with us in our struggles, even if it doesn't look like it. Number 2, his silence often means he is waiting for us to learn to take spiritual authority for ourselves, because he wants us to grow up and mature. And number 3, Jesus is a major strategist. Our trials often make no sense to us whatsoever. But God always has a plan and a purpose for those trials. And so, friends, we live in a world and in a season where life is really tough. And many of us are going through many trials. And Jesus would like us to know that we need to take these three truths and apply them to ourselves. So God bless you and strengthen you as you walk your journey with Him.